For years, I wanted to grow spiritually, and the most powerful spiritual experiences I had were with magic mushrooms. So at first I thought I was awakening, but actually I had no idea of the dangers I was getting into. I had read many New Age books saying that God is inside of us, but none of these books really gave a way to experience it. So I couldn't experience anything all this while until I tried magic mushrooms. My wife and I used to live in Singapore before, and we would travel to the island of Bali, and there we discovered magic mushrooms. We used to take it together to enjoy its effect. We would experience initially some lightness, seeing colorful visions, until I discovered that it is possible to experience it in a much deeper way. I realized I could actually go on an inner journey when under the influence of mushrooms. So I would lie down with the intention of experiencing something, of discovering something about myself or about the universe, about the divine. And initially I had beautiful, vivid experiences. Sometimes I would feel like I was floating outside of my body, or I would see different colors and visions. And at other times, I felt like I was traveling through the cosmos. I was traveling through the universe, and sometimes I felt that I was merging literally with the consciousness of different planets, with the Earth. I would also get answers to questions that I would ask at that time, and I felt that those answers were coming from the divine, because these were answers which seemed different, like coming from someone else. So I thought that I had found some spiritual truth, that I was discovering something unique. So I continued to do it every time we would go to Bali. But at some point, something shifted. Some negativity started to come in, and I started to have some negative experiences. Once, after taking mushrooms with my wife, I started to have very negative thoughts. Like it was as if someone else's voice was inside of my head, telling me very disturbing things. And I just didn't know what to do. All I could do was actually wait for that feeling to stop and to pass. Eventually it went away, but I felt that day I experienced spiritual possession. This is how it felt. Another time, me and my wife were attending a party with friends in Bali, and I decided to take mushrooms, and I took a stronger dose because that day I wanted to discover more about the universe, or discover more about myself, to discover something. And I laid down on a sofa in the middle of that villa while my friends were enjoying themselves around me, but I was in my own world. And initially all went fine. I was trying to seek answers, and I felt that I was ascending. I kept on going higher and higher, and I was finding those answers until I reached a point where I felt no more questions remained, and it felt extremely good to be there. But what happened is, the next second I fell back all the way to the bottom of creation, having lost all that knowledge that I had just found out a few seconds ago, and asking myself, who am I? Then again, I embarked on that journey of trying to find out who I am, and asking those questions and getting answers until I reached the top again. But that didn't last long. I was again spat back all the way to the bottom of creation, not knowing anything again. So that cycle repeated many times. In each time, it went faster and faster, up to a point that I reached a state of helplessness and fear. And also I could feel the presence of some entity which was misleading me, some entity which was mocking me all along. And at some point I felt that I lost myself out of that fear, out of that helplessness, and I went into a state of total darkness. I lost consciousness. I don't know how long it lasted, but after some time I started to see flashes of white light, and I was basically coming back into my physical body. It was a very painful process because my body felt foreign to me, but I was coming back to it, and I realized that a crowd was around me trying to wake me up. It took me a while to adjust after that, and later my friends and my wife told me what had happened, that at some point they noticed that I was lying there lifeless. I looked as if I was dead. They checked if I was breathing, and I was not breathing. This lasted for several minutes, so they tried to bring me back. They tried to wake me up, and eventually it worked. I came back. And another strange phenomenon that happened is that some of my friends were outside of the villa, several hundred meters away from it, and they saw me walking in the streets, wearing different clothes at that time. But I was unconscious at the villa, and they saw me there later. So that day I realized that something had happened, that I had nearly died. It is as if my subtle body had left my body and was misled, or I was getting lost in the spiritual dimension. At that time I realized that what I was experiencing was not just my imagination, but I had unknowingly entered the subtle dimension, a realm filled with positive energies but also negative ones, and I was totally unprepared for it. I realized at that time that there's no shortcuts in spirituality. I was under the wrong impression that with just one substance or one experience I could reach the divine, but it was very wrong and very dangerous. Some years later, I found the website of the Spiritual Science Research Foundation, and it was such a relief, because for the first time I saw that it was possible to get practical guidance on how to grow spiritually. So I tried some of the steps which I recommended on the website. I started chanting 𝗙𝗂𝗲 for protection from ancestral spirits, and I started to do regularly the saltwater remedy, which helped me to reduce the distress I was feeling. So I started to feel more calm, more peaceful. So I understood that. I realized how much this spiritual practice was helping me. I also could relate with the reality of negative energies as it is explained on the website, because I had experienced those feelings of possession or intense fear, or being disillusioned or misled by negative energies. So I could relate to all that, and it benefited me a lot. So I stopped relying on my own judgment when it came to spirituality, and I started to follow the guidance of SSRF. Soon after, I went to the ashram, and I started also to attend the weekly satsangs, or spiritual meetings, in which week after week I could get practical guidance how to do spiritual healing, how to overcome certain defects which are affecting me, like anger, insecurity, or worry. And I started to notice many changes happening, like anger reducing, which had a great impact on my family also, because our relationship with my wife and my children became much more harmonious. Looking back, I realize now how lost I was, trying to navigate the subtle world alone. This path didn't just save me from death, but it gave me a new life. And in gratitude to all I've received. I have now dedicated my life full-time to spiritual practice and also to help others in their spiritual journey. And I feel a lot of gratitude to the seekers and the saints of SSRF for guiding us. Also, I feel very grateful to His Holiness Dr. Athavale for giving us all this knowledge, not just to read, but also to experience and live and change ourselves.